take for each problem today, make sure to press pause right on the problem and then continue to watch. Every problem or every example should be put. You may have learned multiple ways to factor a trinomial, as you see in example 1. There's not just one way to do it, and I would welcome you to use the method that you feel most comfortable with. At the 3-4 level, or now considered Algebra 2, we use a method, and that method is taught within every class. If you transfer from one teacher to the next, you hear like the same terms in the same language. It's called the bottoms-up method. And if your method, and if you can be successful with your method, whether it's the box method you learned from Ms. Castro or guess and check, as long as you can do it quickly and accurately, feel free to use whatever method. So I do want you to understand what I'm talking about here so that when we move into the next unit, you're comfortable with this terminology. So in this situation, I start by multiplying the outside. 3 times 8 is a positive 24. I want to come up with two numbers that then combine to give you the number in the middle. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, how do I get 24? 1 and 24, adding and subtracting, 2 and 12. 2 and 12 do work, but here's the problem. In order to get a positive 10, it would have to be a positive 12 and a negative 2. They don't multiply to give you a positive 24. 3 and 8 don't combine somehow to give you 10. 4 and 6 both positive multiply, and they combine to give you 10. So in back I put a positive 4 and a positive 6, and an x is going to be in front of both. Now whenever the leading coefficient is different than 1, we do what's called bottoms up. That number goes in the very bottom. And then we reduce these fractions when possible. So 4/3 doesn't reduce, I leave it as is, but 6/3 reduces to 2. If we reduced it, we're good. If we can't reduce it, this is the bottoms up. The bottoms up method, the bottom number gets pushed up. 3x plus 4 and x plus 2. This is in fact. Please write down example 2, press pause, rejoin this video when you have. So I see a 3, a 10, and an 8. There's not one number other than 1 or negative 1 that I could pull out. Negative 3 times 8 is a negative 24. And I'm looking for two numbers that combine to give us a negative 10. 1 and 24, no. 2 and 12, well this time it works. Negative 12 and a positive 2 combine to give you a negative 10, and they multiply to give you a negative 24. So x plus 2, x minus 12. Because the leading coefficient is different than 1, I'm going to put that number and the symbol underneath. The next step is to reduce those fractions. So positive divided by a negative is a negative, but 2/3 can't be reduced. 2 negatives make a positive, and 12 divided by 3 is 4. Okay, this is already reduced. Again, 2/3 can't be reduced. Bottom number up, bottoms up. 3x minus 2 and x plus 4. This is example number 3. Before you begin, you always ask yourself, is there a number other than 1 that you can divide each of these items by? And there's not. So 9 times positive 4 is a positive 36. What two numbers multiply to give you 36 and combine to give you 12? So 1 and 36, no. 2 and 18, no. 3 and 12, no, that doesn't work. 4 and 9 does not work. What about 6 and 6? 6 times 6, both positive gives you 12, both positive gives you positive 36. So x plus 6 and x plus 6. Because the leading coefficient is different than 1, the 9 goes on the bottom. And now we're going to go down and we're going to reduce each of these fractions. So I know that 3 divides into both 6 and 9. 3 goes into 6 twice, 3 goes into 9 3 times. Again, 3 goes into 6 twice and to 9 3 times. Once we've reduced the fraction, if it's not just a single number, it's bottoms up, bottom number up. 3x plus 2 and 3x plus 2. Leave like this? Yeah, it's okay. Or, since we see the exact same thing twice, we can write it as that quantity. Asking ourselves, is it possible here to take a number other than 1 out of these 3? No, but not all divisible by 2, so we'll get started. 2 times negative 12 is a negative 24. What two numbers combine to give you a positive 5 and multiply to give you a negative 24? 1 and 24, no. 2 and 12, no. Let's go with 3 and 8. 3 and 8 looks like they'd work. A positive 8 and a negative 3 combine to give you 5, multiply to give you a negative 24. Does it matter which one you write in the first parenthesis? It never does, as long as the correct sign goes with the correct number. Because the number up front is different than 1, I need to put that number underneath. And now reduce, as I go down, reduce when possible. 3/2 doesn't work, but 8 divided by 2 does reduce to 4. So if you reduce, there's no bottoms up you have to do. We're good. But here, I can't reduce this any further. The bottom number must go up, bottoms up. 2x minus 3 and x plus 4. I see 18, 15, and 12, and right away I realize they all are divisible by 3, and I believe that's the largest number I can divide out of all of them. So I divided 3 out, and I end up with 6x squared minus 5x minus 4. And now don't forget about this 3. We'll come back to it at the very end, but I'm going to focus on that trinomial in the middle. So 6 times negative 4 is negative 24. I want to go what two numbers multiply to give you negative 24 and combine to give you negative 5. And we just did that in the last problem. We realized that 1 and 24 don't work and 2 and 12 don't work, but 3 and 8 do work if the 8 is negative and the 3 is positive. They combine to give you a negative 5, they multiply to give you a negative 8. So most students, after watching the last problem, they understand this, but here's where they get confused. They go, what number do I put on the bottom? Well, it's this trinomial we're working with. So since this number is not 1, it's 6 that goes on the bottom. And now reduce when possible. 3 goes into itself 1, 3 goes into 6 twice. Oh, this is a tricky one. They're both even. 2 goes into 8 4 times, 2 goes into 6 3 times. I've reduced them, but I don't have a single number, so I must do bottoms up. 2x plus 1, 3x minus 4. Now, why would this still be wrong? Because I can't forget about that original number that I multiplied. Write down example 6. Excuse me. Pressing pause, and then come back and press. This looks tricky. So I know that 8 doesn't go into divide nicely into 46 or into 30. And I know 4, which also divides nicely into 8, doesn't go into either numbers, but they're all even. So let's take out a negative 2 to make life easy. So negative 2 times 4 is negative 8 with an x squared. Negative 2, so if I take 46 and I divide it by 2, I get 23. And I'm going to make it a negative 23 because a negative times a negative equals a positive up above. And negative 2 times positive 15 gives us the negative 30. So forget about this for now. This is the trinomial that I'm working with. 4 times 15 is a positive 60. I'm looking for two numbers that are going to combine to give me a negative 23. 1 and 60, no. 2 and 30, no. Maybe it's not possible. We'll see. Maybe this is as far as I can go. So 3 and 20. There we go, 3 and 20. Now, if they're both negative, I get a negative 23 combined, and if they're both negative, when they multiply, I get a positive 60. So I have x minus 3, and I have x minus 20, and here's the confusing part. I know I have to do bottoms up, but which one do I use? It's always this last trinomial that I'm working with. So positive 4 goes underneath, and now I'm going to reduce. Well, 3/4 doesn't reduce any further. I know that 20 divided by 4 is 5. If you have a single number, we're good. If it's not a single number, but it's a fraction, remember it's bottoms up. So 4x minus 3, x minus 5, and don't forget about the negative 2 out. Writing down example 7, please. Always ask yourself, is there a number I can divide? So let's start with the smallest number. I know these are not divisible by 10. I know 5 will be the next one. They're not divisible by 5, but they're all even. So let's divide by a 2. Now, why am I taking a 2 out here, but here I took a negative 2 out? I took a negative 2 out so I could remove the negative sign out front. When I divide by 2, I end up with 12x squared minus 11x minus 5. 12 times negative 5 is negative 60. And I want two numbers that combine to give you a negative 11. 1 and 60, no. 2 and 30. 3 and 20. 4 and 15. So the 15 would have to be negative because it's the larger of the two, and the 4 would have to be positive. They multiply to give you a negative 60. They combine to give you a negative 11. So x plus 4 and x minus 15, it doesn't matter which one goes first, as long as the plus sign is attached to the 4 and the negative sign is attached to the 15. And then again, what number do I put underneath? It's going to be the trinomial we're working with last. So a 12 underneath both, and reduce if possible. 4 goes into itself once, 4 goes into 12 3 times. Both divisible by 3. 3 goes into 15 5 times, 3 goes into 12 4 times. Okay, so I've reduced, but I don't get a single number, which means I need to do bottoms up. 3x plus 1, 4x minus 5, and don't forget about the 2 out front. This was lesson 4. This was lesson 4.